Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, for the most part, it seems that the recent rash of sightings, of UFO sightings, of drone sightings, or whatever kind of sightings you want to talk about these days, there's a lot of different kinds of sightings. All of it is due to the stupidity of the public. That's what it comes down to. Seems to be the excuse that's being pawned around here by the establishment media these days. The figures of the establishment are basically stating that it's just the fact that people are stupid. You're dumb. Everyone out there is dumb. If you see something up in the sky and you have no explanation for it, that's because you're stupid. That's the reason. And we're going to get into that. Now, I did touch a little bit on this in the previous show, but we're going to get into it a lot more today. Anyway, let's start with an article. This is a new article from space.com. And the headline reads, Planes, Drones, or UFOs? What are people seeing in the New Jersey sky? Now, of course, as we all know, it's beyond New Jersey. It's all over the eastern seaboard, and it's other states now as well. I mean, there's all across this country, in Texas and Oregon, all over the place, California, everywhere. People are seeing all kinds of weird objects in the sky these days. And now in New Jersey and along the eastern seaboard, yeah, there has been a lot of what they're saying are drone sightings, large car-sized drones in the air. And we've talked about the what that could be on this show. There's different reasons. There could be that our government is sending up these special drones that they don't want to talk about. They're not going to admit that they belong to them. Right? They're going to send them up as a possible deterrent against potentially these visitors that are here, this alien presence among us, which we know for a fact, as I've documented on this channel, right, numerous times. We have absolute proof now that shows that we are not alone, right? It's no longer a guessing game about this. It's no longer there's no reason to wonder anymore. But the mainstream news, they're not aware of this, or they're pretending they're not aware of this, or whatever the case is. But they're trying to put out a different kind of narrative right now. That basically it's the stupidity of people. That's what that sort of boils down to. I just want to read a little bit of this article, and then we're going to get into something else here. It says here, there's a direct quote from somebody here. It says, This is a case of the general populace not being familiar with the density of air traffic in the national airspace, particularly on the eastern seaboard. Now, that's a lot of baloney. We'll get into that in a second here. But it says here, the recent sightings of puzzling unidentified aircraft in New Jersey and other states have triggered yet another round of unanswered questions and fueled conspiracy theories. For one, the odd objects have sparked a visual public mayday and melee, one that might be mirroring elements of the ongoing unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, issue, spurring talk of secretive saucer crashes by run-amok alien crew members with expired driver's licenses. What nonsense, anyway. Mischaracterization of what's seen. Public anxiety about what's not known. Government officials seemingly not clear on what's happening. Toss in Capitol Hill lawmakers demanding answers about what to do next. It's all enough to give you a case of the high and low altitude heebie-jeebies. It's, you know what, there's no panic ongoing, despite what these establishment hacks want to tell you. There's no panic. It's just a lot of people are expressing concerns. That's not panicking. Panicking is a totally different emotion here. It's not what's happening. There's people who are expressing concerns about all these objects in the sky, and they just want answers from the government, and the government is not willing to provide those answers. They just won't do it, because I believe, and a lot of us out there believe, right, is that it has something to do with this non-human intelligent presence on this planet. As we know, we have the evidence that shows that there is something here. There's no question about it. So why are all of a sudden, all over the place, are these large car-sized drones up in the sky? Are they alien themselves? The government won't give us an answer. Are there misidentifications, as some debunkers want to say? Yes, of course there are, because there's a lot more eyeballs on the skies these days. So of course people are going to misidentify conventional aircraft. Of course that's going to happen. But there are other objects that are being seen too. Orbs, for instance. A lot of people have been seeing orbs in the sky. They're not drones. Orbs are not drones. Nobody has an answer for the orbs, right? They just don't. And then anyway, continuing here, it says, Jamie Jacob, executive director of the Oklahoma Aerospace Institute for Research and Education at Oklahoma State University in Stillwater, has some thoughts about what's likely going on. This is a case of the general populace not being familiar with the density of air traffic in the national airspace, particularly on the eastern seaboard, Jacob told Space.com. Most people today generally don't spend much time looking up at the night sky, and when you do, you finally start to see what's around you. Jacob said that while the possibility of drone threats is something that we should be concerned about, particularly since we're largely unprepared to deal with it, the present scenario appears to be mostly misidentification of piloted aircraft. So that's what they're trying to tell you. It's basically the stupidity of people who weren't paying attention to the skies before. All of this is due to that. Now, I would argue that a small portion of it has to do with that. I think people are aware of what's going on in the sky. How could you not be? When you're driving your car, especially in a highly populated area, you see stuff all the time flying around, aircraft all over the place. This is different than that. There's something more going on with this, but they don't want to admit that. Instead, they want to make it look like it's all people just being stupid. Anyway, continuing with this article, it says the drones that have been sighted, Jacob added, look to be generally operating under the United States Federal Aviation Administration's night authorization for drone pilots. Nefarious operations would, as a rule of thumb, not fly with navigation lights so as to be harder to track, said Jacob. The misidentification of commercial airliners and private aircraft as drones are predominantly due to the difficulty of determining size and distance of a vehicle without a reference scale. Research that we have done on estimating size and location of both drones and manned aircraft backs this up. Okay, again, there's going to be misidentifications, especially at a time like this when you're in the middle of a flap. Okay, of course, there's going to be misidentifications. But according to the mainstream news, that's all of this pretty much could be pinned down on that in the minds of a lot of people. In the minds of a lot of different people from the establishment government. And here's an opinion piece that appeared in the Washington Post, and it was written by Garrett Graff. I did mention this recently in the recent show, and I'm going to talk about it here a little bit more. And just the headline alone: "Panic over mystery drones says more about people than UFOs." Now he's saying that there's a panic over this. People are panicking. Everyone's in a panic. Right, that's not what's happening. People are just expressing concerns. They're not panicking. Right, they're saying, just recently I went out in the backyard, and my neighbor was out in the backyard, and he was looking up at the sky. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm just looking for drones," and he just laughed. He wasn't panicking. He was just acknowledging that other people are out there noticing drones in the sky these days, and he was just looking up to see if he could spot one too. There was no panic. Right? It's just concern, wondering what's going on with all of these drones. That's what it is. Panic is something else, right? But yet Garrett Graff, who by the way is the author of this terrible book that I reviewed last year, or maybe it was earlier this year. He published it late last year, and I talked about it on my show earlier this year. And this book was absolute garbage. It was half-assed research, like I talked about before. And here we have a half-assed opinion piece that appears in the Washington Post. And by the way, the Washington Post is not a place to be trusted, folks. It is not the old Washington Post of old. It's not the Watergate era Washington Post anymore. It's a piece of garbage Washington Post. That's what it is. Do not trust the Washington Post. They do not take this subject seriously whatsoever. Anyway, the subheadline for this, it says, "Life's great mysteries aren't solved while taking out the trash or driving along a deserted highway." See, Garrett Graff this guy has an explanation for all of these things. And if you see something in the sky, obviously you're stupid or you misidentified something or whatever, a combination thereof, according to this guy. That's what I get out of it anyway. And he starts off, he says, "The rising panic." Again, rising panic. It's not a panic. It's people expressing concerns and demanding answers already about the reality of the world in which we live. That's what's going on here. It's not a panic. A lot of us actually already know for a fact that we're not alone, and we just want more answers. Is what's been going on recently with all of these sightings in the sky? Does it have something to do with these creatures, right? That we know are here, that we've seen on video, that we've seen we actually have absolute proof of their existence now. That's all we want to know. But the government doesn't want to provide those answers. Maybe we've had people testifying under oath last year, this year, right? Talking about in House committees, right? Talking about reverse engineering and crash retrieval programs, and that we're not alone in the universe, right? People testifying under oath to this fact. right? And you have the Pentagon, meanwhile, continuing to lie to people about this reality. And meanwhile, then you have people like Garrett Graff, who's, here's another opportunity. I'll write a piece of garbage, half-assed researched opinion piece for the Washington Post. They'll publish it because they love this kind of stuff. They love these kind of stories. They want to make the public feel like they're stupid idiots and that we're in charge and we got everything under control, when in fact they do not have everything under control. If the Pentagon had this situation under control, you would think they would tell us by now. But obviously they don't have it under control, and that's why they're not saying anything about it. Anyway, the rising panic over mystery drones swarming the skies of mid-Atlantic states reminds us that in the centuries-long hunt to identify UFOs, humans are usually the weakest link. So basically, humans are the stupid ones here. It's us humans who are really stupid, and we're the weakest link. Actually, no, the weakest link, right, is the Pentagon to the media. That's the weakest link, the Pentagon and the media. The Pentagon lies and the media just eats it up. They lap it up. The mainstream media, they lap up the lies. They don't do any further investigation. They don't look into the important stories that are earth-shattering, world-changing stories when it comes to this subject. For instance, the Las Vegas alien story. They won't look into that. The Washington Post won't do an investigation into that, even though it's laid out right there for them. It wouldn't take much. The research is already done, but they won't do anything with it. Why? Because they don't want the people to know the truth. Right? They don't care. Anyway, continuing, it says, America has real national security challenges in the new era of unmanned aerial vehicles in warfare, but an invasion of mystery drones over New Jersey isn't one of them. So basically, Garrett Graff, he knows all. This man knows all. He went to Harvard. He knows all. He lived a great life compared to a lot of us. I don't think that this guy, I don't think that he ever worked in some of the places that I worked in, right? I did it all, folks, right? I worked in factories. I drove truck. I did all kinds of stuff. In addition to being a reporter for 14 years, I was a laborer. I did everything under the sun. I worked in McDonald's. I worked all over the place. Did all kinds of things. Factories, everything, all kinds of stuff, right? This guy, right? I don't think he knows what his view of the world is from a cushy office from his whole life, and the halls of Harvard. That's about it. He doesn't know what it's like to be out there in the real world. He doesn't know what real people are like. He looks down on. He thinks people like Garrett Graff. He thinks that he's better than everyone else, and he looks down on you. He thinks you're a stupid moron. Hey, read my garbage about UFOs and believe it because I know more than you because I went to Harvard. And look at the Washington Post is publishing my crap. You should read it and believe it because obviously if it's not true, it wouldn't be in the Washington Post, right? Anyway, continuing, as it turns out, just as eyewitnesses often bungle the details of, say, a car accident on the corner, we are notoriously unreliable when it comes to identifying and reporting UFOs. A huge percentage of, quote, sightings, end quote, turn out upon investigation to be the planet Venus or other surprisingly bright astronomical phenomena. People on the ground regularly misjudge distances in the sky so that even objects miles away are perceived to be close by. See, again, this moron didn't do his research, but yet people are supposed to take his word for gospel. That's basically, I mean, so the object that I saw back in 1994 that was up close right in front of me, right, that I wasn't looking way up in the sky up at Venus, right, this thing, whatever I saw, right, that didn't make any sound, right, that was as big as a house, that was only 2.5 stories off the ground, and within 20 feet of me, that my friend was able to shine the flashlight on the bottom of it, and then the object moved in ways that our conventional aircraft is unable to move, right? See, that stuff doesn't count. None of those kind of sightings, that's not what he's all these sightings, according to this guy, according to him and people like him, right? All the people in the mainstream news, the Mick Wests, right, who gets brought on CNN, right? CNN brings on Mick West, right? Imagine this. Mick West, a former video game programmer, like now he's held up, he's put on some sort of a pedestal, like he's some sort of a god when it comes to identifying what's in the sky. Like he knows all. This guy who's a former video game programmer, he's able to tell us everything. He has explanations for everything. Just remember, he was the one who got behind that stupid explanation for the Ariel Schools incident where he said it was a traveling puppeteer troupe, right, that was responsible for the creatures and object flying saucer that over 60 kids witnessed. right? That's what that was. And then when it comes to the Vegas alien thing, remember that was raccoons and coyotes. He said that, and here CNN's bringing this guy on as an expert to tell us what's out in the sky after when he was trying to tell us before that what people saw in the Vegas backyard was only raccoons and coyotes, when we know that that's furthest from the truth. But yet that guy's held up on a pedestal by channels like CNN, and obviously Garrett Graff is held up on a pedestal by people like who run the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos loves this guy. He'll set the world straight. He'll set the public straight. He'll get them to stop, quote, panicking, end quote. Where's the panic? There is no panic. That's a lie. That's a lie. People are concerned. They're tired of the lies and obfuscation. They want answers. That's what's going on. But these people, right? No, they don't want to give it to you. They want to force feed you this garbage. That's what this is. If you're a subscriber to the Washington Post, I highly recommend you get rid of it because it's trash. It's absolute trash. Anyway, continuing here. I just want another thing I just want to throw out here. I've been sick for the last few days, so so that's why you haven't seen me, and it's taken me a while to finally sit down and do something. And you can see I'm a little bit angry. I'm a little bit angrier than usual right over this, and I maybe I'm all over the place right now, and that's probably true. But hey, it has to be entertaining, right? It still has to be somewhat entertaining and educational. The fact that I'm pointing out the reality that the mainstream establishment media, the legacy media, is junk, and they don't know how to cover this, right? And they're just force feeding lies and bullshit down people's throats all the time. And here's another case of it. And it needs to be pointed out. I think it does. Now, I did bring this up the other day, but I didn't read it. But now I'm reading some of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just enough so you get the idea. Anyway, yeah, he's saying that Venus, the planet Venus, that's an oldie but a goodie, right? That, I guess a lot of these sightings that people are having these days, that's just Venus. It's right there. It's way out there in the sky, even though they're saying no, it was right above my house, or it was right above my head, or wherever, right? And it definitely wasn't making any sound, and it wasn't moving like a plane. It hovered there for 6 hours and then flew away. Oh no, it was probably Venus. Anyway, continuing. He says the UFO mistaken identity problem is a big part of the reason that the military and scientists now refer to sightings more precisely as UAP, or unidentified anomalous phenomena, a label meant to capture that many sightings might not be, quote, objects, end quote, at all, but are more likely to be known or as yet unknown astronomical and atmospheric phenomena. So basically, he's telling you now that the reason they changed it to UAP, right, has nothing to do with the idea that it may be extraterrestrial or something that was constructed by some non-human intelligence. No. It's just that we just don't have enough information on it yet, but when we do, it's going to be some sort of an astronomical or atmospheric phenomena. There's no such thing as aliens. That's preposterous, according to Garrett Graff. And then he goes on, he talks about a story from October 1st, 1948, when this Lieutenant George Gorman, World War II veteran and pilot in the North Dakota Air National Guard, gave chase to what he thought it was a UFO, and then later on it was determined that it was just a weather balloon. So he's going to cherry pick little episodes like this from history. Oh yeah, see this time, yeah, it was just a weather balloon. See, the people are stupid. Even the pilot back in 1948, that guy was stupid. And then he talks about J. Allen Hynek, the astronomer and godfather of, quote, ufology, end quote. He has to put ufology in quotes for some reason. Who spent a quarter, that's just to try to make Hynek look bad. That's basically what he's doing. Who spent a quarter century working with the Air Force on its UFO studies and coined the phrase close encounters of the third kind, told an interviewer late in his career, pilots have been known to swerve their planes violently when they suddenly encounter a very bright meteor they think is on a collision course, but which later proves to have been 50 to 100 miles away. There's a reason people who are serious about studying UAP are trying to get humans out of the reporting loop. At a congressional hearing last summer, Ryan Graves, a former Navy aviator who had his own experiences encountering UAP and now leads an advocacy organization called Americans for Safe Aerospace, proposed a more reliable alternative to the grainy black and white but supposedly revealing photos that dot the internet. Sensors. Similarly, Harvard astronomy professor Avi Loeb, one of the leading voices in UAP studies, argues that we need to far better understand what a regular sky looks like before trying to determine what's anomalous. As Loeb told me last year, trust in data, people are a waste of time. Okay, how about you trust? I have some data for you, Garrett. I got some really good data for you, right? And it's been verified by a crime scene reconstruction expert with over 30 years experience in the field, right? And he's determined that aliens that were captured in that video in Las Vegas in 2023 were really there, and there were real non-human entities in that video, and those people weren't lying when they said that there were alien creatures in their backyard. And that's true, because we've went through that video 100 times on this channel over the past, I don't know, 7-8 months, right? And there's no question about it. We are not alone. That's what's here. But you don't know that either. Either you do know that, right, and you're ignoring it, or you don't know it and you're just making an absolute complete fool out of yourself as you pander to the Pentagon, right, and pander to the establishment media that wants this narrative pushed out so the people don't know the truth. Right, I'm so sick. I tell you what, I am so sick and tired of this cover-up. So sick and tired of it. I can't stand it anymore. I'm done reading this. I'll leave the link for you if you have. You might get a paywall in front of it, but I can't read the rest of this because it just makes me too angry. Yeah, but I'll just the last part of the article. He says, and yet, as the New Jersey drone mystery reminds us, every time any of us looks out of the kitchen window, glances into the backyard sky, or drives down an empty highway, we can believe we might see that one glowing light that changes everything. Basically, we're all just dummies, right? We think we're going to see something, right? And then when we do see something, right, then oh yeah, because we're stupid. Everybody out there is stupid according to people like him. He went to Harvard, so obviously you're stupid. He's not. If you didn't go to Harvard, right, then you're a dummy, obviously. And if you don't believe in the way this guy believes, in the way Mick West believes, then you're stupid and you're panicking right now. No. What's happening is that people are just sick and tired of the lies, and they just want the truth to be told, right? And the truth is we're not alone. That's the truth of the matter, folks. That's the absolute truth. I just want to point out one other thing here, too, is that Lou Elizondo was recently interviewed by Ross Coulthart, and he made some comments. He said things like he's concerned that there are aspects of the UAP phenomenon that could cause significant social angst and anxiety on a global scale. He said it's destabilizing information, considered so threatening that it mirrors historical moments of suppressed truths. And this is a post from Jim Ferguson I'm reading from, and I'll leave the link so you can check it out for yourself. And paraphrasing Elizondo, Ferguson writes, take Galileo, for example. When he proposed a heliocentric model of the solar system, the Church, the Catholic Church, deemed his ideas so dangerous that they were willing to persecute him. Elizondo went on to say that was centuries ago. But even as recently as the late 1940s, when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, it took nearly 20 years for translations to be released. Why? Fear of disrupting the prevailing Judeo-Christian belief system. History shows us the lengths institutions will go to in suppressing truths that challenge deeply held worldviews. What truths are we on the brink of uncovering today? Ferguson asks, and this was based on a comment that Lou Elizondo had made when being interviewed by Ross Coulthart. Well, let me just say this. The bottom line is that, there are going to be some issues when the truth is told. There are going to be some people who are going to be very upset to know that we're not alone, right? And that there's a race of beings here up to what, God knows what, right? Exactly. It could be really bad. It really could be. I mean, based on some of the research, right? Based on some of the research by alien abduction researchers, it could be bad. It could be some sort of a takeover of some sort. But the bottom line is, it's the truth, and the world needs to know it, despite the ramifications. And unfortunately for the government, right? Unfortunately for the Pentagon, the truth is already floating out there right now. People are going to find out about this, right? More and more people are going to find out about this. You could suppress it for so long, but you can't suppress it forever. I don't know how you're going to do it. You'd have to, I don't know. What are you going to do to suppress this reality? The truth that's out there right now, the evidence that's out there, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, you could put a whole bunch of phonies in Reddit and to complain about it. You could put all your operatives in there, and there'll be a whole bunch of dumbbells that will follow suit and write the same kind of crap, right? You could do that kind of stuff, but I mean, comments in Reddit's not going to be able to stop this. You know, comments under my podcast, right, whatever they are, that say that this isn't what we're presenting isn't absolute proof. That's not going to work. Right, it's just not going to work in the long haul. People are going to see this evidence. They're going to hear the whole story, right, and they're going to absorb it all, and they're going to walk away understanding that we are certainly not alone in this universe. There's something on this planet. Not only are we not alone in the universe, there's something here with us right now, and there's no question about it. Absolutely no doubt. Right, and in some of these cases, with some of these recent sightings, some of it I believe has to do with these creatures. Right, that's what I believe that. Right, because one of the reasons I believe that is because the government's being very quiet on this. I mean, when you have, like I talked about this before, when you have the local officials, local law enforcement, state officials, people in the House, a lot of representatives in the House. People in the Senate, in the United States Senate. You have some, you know, that's how high it goes up. You have the concerns coming from local, state, and elected representatives, right? But then when you get to the Pentagon, then you hear, oh no, it could be mass hysteria and things like that, misidentifications, things like that. Listen to Mick West. Listen, Mick West was on CNN the other night. He was telling you how all of this stuff is misidentified. Here's an app where you could find out where airplanes are flying, and you'll realize that what you just saw last night was just a regular old aircraft. Right? It wasn't even a drone. Right? That's what you're being told right now. But no, something's going on, folks. There were incursions over military installations over the United Kingdom, multiple different installations, as we all know. There's been sightings not just in New Jersey, not just in New York, not just in Pennsylvania, not just in Connecticut, but in Texas, in Oregon, in California, all over the country, all over the United States. There's all kinds of sightings right now. People are seeing orbs everywhere. It's not just drones. It's all kinds of different things. That's because we're not alone. And there's something here. There's something here among us, right? And so I don't know what the ramifications are going to happen no matter what. I mean, whether you tell people tomorrow or 10 years from now, right? You're still going to have to face the music, right? So you might as well just get it over with. You might as well just get it over with. It's time for people to face this reality already. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that it's gone on this far. Without the truth being told. And obviously something has to be going on right now. With all of what's been going on the last few weeks here, particularly, right? The last month or whatever, since, when it started, it was over a month now in Jersey, right? Well over a month. And other places, it's been going on for a long time, and the sightings just keep increasing. I just in the recent show, I went over all of those new sightings that are being reported by to the National UFO Reporting Center. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and it has to do not with some things are misidentifications. I totally agree. Some things are just traditional drones. I totally agree, right? But some things are not. Some things don't meet that conventional explanation. They don't fall under that umbrella. Because here's the thing. The reality is that we are not alone, and we have the evidence that shows that we're not alone. That's the whole thing here that people seem to be forgetting. We're not alone, folks. There's something here. And people in the government are lying. And we how do we know this? Because we have the proof. We have people like David Grush and Lou Elizondo who testified. Tim Gallaudet testified under oath. People who are testifying under oath to this reality, but yet for some reason, the mainstream news seems to want to ignore this. They continue to ignore this. We have the evidence, folks. It's over. It's a done deal. And some of these sightings that people are having in recent weeks, right, in recent months, it has to do with these beings. There's no question about it. Absolutely no question in my mind about it. And there should be no question in anyone's mind, but the mainstream news and a lot of these establishment hacks like Garrett Graff, right? They're gonna try to make you believe all kinds of nonsense. They're gonna poo-poo it all away and basically tell you you're stupid. That's what they're gonna do. That's their game plan here. Like make you feel stupid, right? Try to continue with the stigma. That's what it's all about. Continue the stigma. You must be stupid. It's a regular airplane. That's all they're doing. That's what they're doing to you. I just want to point these things out. And, I know I was all over the place today, but what are you going to do? I've been sick. I'm still not over it. I'm trying to get over it. But anyway, I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.